StudyIQ IAS, अब तैयारी हुई अफोर्डेबल।
Hello, Namaskar, Namaskara, Namaskaram, Namaskar. My name is Pooja Dwivedi. Welcome to my class, The Daily Current Affairs, where we will learn significant events of the past 24 hours. Other than this, we will also understand how to tackle Prelims 2024. Moving ahead, before you know about this class, I want to tell you that whatever I teach in this platform, I provide the PDF of it continuously on my Telegram channel that goes by the name of Pooja Dwivedi StudyIQ UPSC. If you have any queries related to whatever I teach or this examination, the UPSC, you can talk to me on my Instagram as well. These are the 9 topics that we need to cover today, step by step. First of all, let's start with the another very important announcement, that is the P2I batch that we have launched from 10th of July onwards. We are going to launch it from 10th of July at 8 a.m. These are going to be the morning batches, and this will be available for Hindi students, English as well as English students. In any one of these batches, you can take admission. You must do it as quickly as possible because we have very few months left for UPSC examination, as well as you will get everything, the classes, along with that study material that will be delivered at your doorstep. Other than this, prelims test series, mains test series, current affairs module, and also mains residential program for those students who are going to qualify prelims 2024. Just use the code PDLIVE to get it at a discounted rate. That is 29,999. Okay, let's move forward and talk about the first question with respect to the collegium system. Consider the following statements. It is treated as a part of the basic structure doctrine. It is not rooted in the constitution. Lack of opaqueness is one of the criticism, and replacing the collegium system calls for a constitutional amendment bill. A constitutional amendment bill is very important to replace the collegium system. This we all have read. So how many statements given above is or are correct? What is the collegium system? It is a mechanism which is headed by the Chief Justice of India and consists of other 4 senior most judges. This system makes appointments and transfers of the judges. So that is why it is important for us to know about it. If we talk about the collegium system, as it consists of the Chief Justice of India and the 4 other senior most judges of the Supreme Court, when we talk about the collegium system of the Supreme Court, then we have the High Courts as well. High Court collegium system also is the same. But we have to understand that basic structure doctrine is nowhere written. We have to keep in mind certain features which are treated as a basic structure. So independence of the judiciary is treated as the basic structure, right? Independence of the judiciary. So that is why collegium system helps in maintaining the independence of the judiciary. That means, yes, it is treated as a basic structure. And that is why NJAC was struck down by the Supreme Court, because the power of executive was also going to be exercised through NJAC. So first statement is correct. It is nowhere mentioned in the Constitution of India. This is also true. And lack of transparency is one of the criticism, not opaqueness. Opaqueness means what? Lack of transparency should be there. Lack of opaqueness means everything is very visible. So it all happens behind the closed doors. Which judges are going to be appointed, which ones are going to be transferred. So even the judges who are being elevated, they also do not know about it. So lack of transparency is one of the biggest criticism, and replacing it needs for a constitutional amendment bill. That is definitely correct. 1 is correct, 2nd is correct, and 4th is also correct. 3 only will be the correct answer, and as we saw that only the 3rd is not correct. The Supreme Court Collegium has recommended the names of Chief Justice Ujjal Bhuyan and Kerala High Court Chief Justice Venkata Narayana Bhatti. These 2 judges are to be elevated to the Supreme Court. And right now, the Supreme Court is working with a sanction of 31 judges, with a strength of 31 judges, including the Chief Justice of India. The sanctioned number of judges is 34, including the Chief Justice of India. It's a 5-member body which is headed by the incumbent, that means serving CJI, and comprises of 4 other senior most judges, and its members serve only for the time period they are serving as the members as the judges of the High Court and CJI of the High Court. The word collegium is nowhere mentioned in the Constitution. This system has come into being through different judges' case. So it's basically a product of judicial pronouncement. Although the concept of it was touted back in 1981 by the Bar Council of India. This was the recommendation that we should have a mechanism such as this. So there are three different judges case through which the collegium system came into existence. The first is the first judges case, which is also known as the SP Gupta versus Union of India case 1981, in which it was said by the Apex Court that there is no concept of primacy of the CGI. That means the opinion of the CGI is not the most important. No primacy is given. And there is a proposal, because why was it said like this? Because the proposal for the appointment to a high court could emanate from the article 217 of the Indian Constitution, and that made the certain terms such as consultation, which is used in article 124, to not mean concurrence. Okay, that means you can only consult with the CGI. Even if you're differing with the CGI, you cannot say that CGI's opinion is not in this particular favor, so I will not work accordingly. You can have a difference of opinion, you just have to consult them. Concurrence means there should be an agreement over whatever these two parties are saying. So it gave the primacy or the preference to the executive over the judiciary. So the executive became powerful with the help of the first judge's case. And this remained for the next 12 years. The second one was the second judge's case, the Supreme Court Advocates on Record Association versus Union of India 1993. Here, a 9 judges constitutional bench overturned the decision in the SP Gupta case. And they said that through the collegium system, we must act, that means the apex court must act, protecting the integrity and guarding the independence of the judiciary. So, again, independence of the judiciary is manifested through the collegium system. It accorded the primacy to the CGI in the matters of appointments and transfers. And of course, before 12 years, what happened? Primacy was given to the executive. The word consultation used in the constitution wouldn't diminish the primary role of the CGI. That means if it is written consultation, doesn't mean that you will not pay heed to whatever the CGI is saying. CGI is an important being. And the third judge's case was with respect to the then President K.R. Narayana. He issued this presidential reference under Article 143 to the Apex Court that consultation means consultation only with the CGI or other senior most judges also, right? So this was also one of the confusion. So it meant, over the meaning of the term consultation, it meant that a guideline should be provided. 9 guidelines for the functioning of the quorum and appointments and transfers took place. It came to be the existing form of collegium existed because of this particular case. Recommendation should be made by the CGI and his 4 senior most colleagues instead of 2. Supreme Court judges who hailed from the High Court were also to be consulted. This was also given. Even if 2 judges are not agreeing upon certain names out of these 5 members, CGI should not send the names for any sort of appointment or transfer. Okay. Next, consider the following statements with respect to the Election Commission's powers in election symbol dispute. Right now, because of the dispute with respect to who is the correct party of NCP, this question has been asked. The decision of the ECI shall be binding on all such rival sections or groups emerged after the split. For splits in registered but unrecognized parties, the EC usually advises the warring factions to resolve this matter internally or approach the court. And the ECI in all likelihood can freeze the, you can say, giving of the symbols to any of the warring factions until and unless a permanent decision has been made. So what do we have to see? How many statements given above is or are correct? The first statement is definitely correct. Whatever the ECI says with respect to warring factions when it comes to symbols, it is the final decision, and it you can say it is binding, not final, but binding. Okay. And then for splits in registered but unrecognized parties, the ECI says please internally solve it or you can go to the court. I might not be involved. So second is also correct. And third is ECI has the powers to freeze the symbol until and unless a more permanent solution has been reached by the ECI. And this can take as long as 6 months. So first, second, third, all 3 are correct. All 3 will be the correct answer. And I have already told you who is the real NCP. This particular question has made us to formulate that question. Moving on. The question of a split in a political party outside the legislature is dealt by para 15 of the Symbols Order 1968. And according to this only, the ECI has all the powers to have a say with respect to symbols. And it states that the ECI may take into account all the available facts and circumstances and undertake the test of majority, which party has majority of the MLAs or MPs supporting it. Then ECI can take the further judgment. The decision of it shall be binding on all such rival sections. And for splits in registered but unrecognized parties, I have told you what ECI will do. ECI in all likelihood can freeze the symbol for a permanent decision. And the first case that was decided under the para 15 of the Symbols Order was the first split in the Indian National Congress in 1969. Before this, another rule was there. Conduct of elections 1961. Under this, the ECI used to pronounce judgments with respect to symbols. Recently, Indian archers Priyansh and Avneet Kaur won gold in the junior mixed team compound event of the World Archery Youth Championship, and it beat which of the following countries? Russia, UAE, Nepal, Israel. The correct answer is option D, Israel. Indian archers Priyansh and Avneet Kaur have won gold. This is a really good news and I congratulate them. They defeated Israel and this happened at Limerick in Ireland. Indian players beat Israel with a close score, very close score, 146 to 144 yesterday. Okay, moving ahead. The Zanzibar Channel separates Zanzibar and Uganda, Zanzibar and Mafia Island, Zanzibar and Tanzania, Zanzibar and Mozambique. So the correct answer will be, let's see, but before that, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has gone on a 4-day visit to Tanzania. Even a deck reception was hosted on the INS Trishul, very important frigate. So you see, here is the Zanzibar Channel and it separates the Zanzibar Island with mainland Tanzania. Okay, it belongs to Tanzania. Alright, so that means Zanzibar and Tanzania will be the correct answer. That is option C. If we talk about INS Trishul, this is the second of the Talwar class frigate and it was commissioned to the Indian Navy on 25th June 2003. Frigate means what? Frigate is actually a warship that is lighter than a destroyer and it is very well fitted with state-of-the-art sensors and weapons and also carries a multi-role helicopter. Moving on. Consider the following statements. Indian space sector contributes only 3% of the global market share. The country with the largest number of private sector participation is the country of USA. Yuvika and Unnati are the schemes launched by the Government of India to build capacity in the space sector. India is the 6th largest player in the industry internationally, having 3.6% of the world's space tech companies. Okay, so how many of the statements given above is or are not correct? Indian space sectors contributes only 2%, not even 2% to the entire space market globally. That is really very less. That is why private sector participation is being engaged. USA has the largest amount of private sector companies in its space sector. Not only NASA, but other important companies, SpaceX, many other companies are participating in the space sector. Approximately 52% of the space tech companies are in USA that are combined, that are helping the USA to achieve other goals. Yuvika and Unnati, yes, these particular two are capacity building programs that have been launched by the Government of India for space sector. India is the 6th largest player. When it comes to international level, it has 3.6% of the world's space tech companies. So remember how much it contributes, how much do we aspire to achieve, how much share do we aspire to achieve when it comes to space sector globally. All these are important. So first is incorrect, second is correct, third is correct, fourth is correct. So not correct, one only will be the not correct answer. Now, as a part of India's G20 presidency, the 4th edition of the Space Economy Leaders Meeting is beginning in Bengaluru today. And there are many agendas that need to be covered. The sharing of space mission economy, responsibilities of space agencies and alliance in space missions. And we know that India is engaging private sectors now. The global space economy is currently valued at $380 billion US, in which India has a meager share of 2%. You can see about the USA, it's 40%, whopping 40%. UK is at 7%. India has the potential to capture approximately 9% of the space sector globally by the year 2030. Okay, and India's space sector is valued at $7.6 billion as of 2021. These are the certain data that you have to have on your fingertips. Remember that. Okay. The Indian space policy came into existence, which delineated the roles and responsibilities of ISRO, New Space India Limited, which is a space sector PSU, Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center, which is an interface. Now, private sector companies will now be able to build rockets, space vehicles, as well as satellites, launch vehicles, and also help the ISRO. NSIL will be taking care of strategic activities related to space sector under the Department of Space, and this will work in the demand-driven mode. Whenever there will be demands, like any country wants to launch some sort of rocket, NSIL will come into the picture. ISRO, according to the space policy, it will increase the participation of private players in the space sector, and in space will be the interface between ISRO and non-governmental entities. So this is all in order to impact the private sector participation. As per the Space and Tech Analytics, India is the 6th largest market player, which contributes 3.6% of the world's space tech companies. US is the leader with 56.4% of all the companies, and other major players also include the UK, Canada, China, and Germany. Yuva Vigyani Karikram, that is Yuvika, as well as Unnati, that means Unispace Nano Satellite Assembly and Training. These two are the government schemes to ensure capacity building from the initial level. Consider the following statements with respect to India's nationally determined contribution. India is already on track to achieve 60 to 67% non-fossil capacity by 2030 under the current policies. In its National Forest Policy of 1988, India has set a target of bringing 33% of its geographical area under forest cover, and an emission intensity of target of 35% below the 2005 levels by 2030 is one of the NDCs. How many statements given above is or are not correct? India revised its NDCs in 2022. It made certain promises which are revised. That is the important thing. These NDCs are made under the Paris Agreement of 2015. India has promised that we will have an installed capacity of 50%. That means India, when it comes to generating energy, will be dependent on renewable energy for 50% of its total share in energy by the year 2030. This is one of our promises. Non-fossil capacity means renewable energy. And yes, India is already on 60 to 67% of the achievement. So first statement is correct. As we also want to sequester carbon, we need more carbon sinks, and forest cover helps us improving that. That is why in our national policy, forest policy of 1988, we have promised that 33% of the geographic region of India, it will have forest coverage. We haven't achieved this as of yet. Second is also correct. And an emission intensity target of 45% is there. Earlier it was 30%. Now it is 45%. That means if we compare these 2 years, 2030 and 2005, we will compare it on the basis of these 2 years. That if we compare 2030 to 2005, we have reduced our carbon emission by 45%. This is our revised target, and it shouldn't be 35%. As we have to select the not correct one, option 3 is not correct. One only will be the correct answer. The first international conference on green hydrogen took place in New Delhi yesterday. And according to the minister, India is one of the lowest carbon emitters in the world, which we will see. It is aimed at reducing the emissions intensity of its GDP by 30% by 2030. This was the earlier plan. But now India has achieved this in 9 years in advance. That is why we have revised our targets. Ujala scheme, which helps with the LED bulb distribution, has also worked in our favor. India has also achieved its COP21 pledge related to nationally determined contribution 9 years in advance. 2, but not the carbon sequestration one. This only one hasn't been achieved, 2 have been achieved. India's national green hydrogen mission is working towards it. Top 10 polluters currently include China, United States, India is third. Then we have Russia, Japan, Germany, although India is making strides. Now, as I told you, NDCs, first NDC, revised one that was in 2022, is having an emission target to be reduced by 45% if we compare 2 years, 2005 and 2030. Target of achieving 50% cumulative electric power from non-fossil based sources by 2030, and creation of carbon sink of 2.523 GT CO2. and this will be through additional forest coverage by 2030. Only the third one is really far away. When we talk about the first two, these are okay. I have already told you this. Now in 2016, India had a net carbon sink of this much, but now India wants to ensure that we are going on the right track. So in its national forest policy, India said that we will bring 33% of the geographical area of India under forest cover. But as of 2021, it is just 24.6%. We have made a very insignificant, you can say, stride forward when we compare the year 2013, when the forest cover was 24%. This is not a good thing. Consider the following statements with respect to dengue. The largest number of dengue cases or dengue cases, it can be called as dengue in Hindi and dengue in English. The largest number of dengue or dengue cases were reported globally in the year 2019, the largest number. No vaccine is available for dengue or dengue, and there is no specific treatment for dengue or dengue. So the correct answer, let's see how many statements given above is or are correct. First statement is definitely correct. Even in Afghanistan, dengue was reported back then. There is a vaccine available. We will talk about that as well. But there is no specific treatment for it. Okay. So how many of them are correct? First is correct, third is correct, two only will be the correct answer. Now recently in Bangladesh, the dengue cases are increasing at a rapid stage. The number of vector-borne disease fever cases have risen and they have crossed 10,000 mark. Death toll has increased. Dhaka and Chittagong, these divisions have the highest number of cases. It's a viral infection. That means it is caused by a virus which is by the name of dengue virus or dengue. Primarily, this virus is carried by Aedes aegypti mosquito. And I have said the word primarily. Why? Because these could be carried by other types of mosquitoes, but these should be under the Aedes mosquito only. And in Aedes mosquito, other than Aedes aegypti, all are secondary. But the primary vector is Aedes aegypti. It is transmitted to humans through the bite of the mosquitoes. About half of the world's population is now at a risk of dengue, and an estimated 100 to 400 million infections occur each year. It is found generally in tropical and subtropical regions, specifically in urban and semi-urban areas. Most people who get dengue won't have symptoms. They can get managed through proper care. But for those who do that, the most common symptoms include high fever, headache, body aches, rashes, as well as severe abdominal pain in those which becomes more serious. There is no specific treatment, although we have the paracetamol to control pain, such as acetaminophen. Non-steroidal drugs such as ibuprofen and aspirin are avoided because it can cause bleeding. There is a vaccine that is by the name of dengue vaxia, and this is given to the people who have had dengue once and where it is very common to catch dengue again. The largest number was reported in the year 2019, and all regions were affected. Transmissions were for the first time ever reported in Afghanistan. Which of the following is a founding member of the OPEC, Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries? Qatar, Nigeria, Venezuela, UAE. All these have been a member of the OPEC, but Venezuela is the founding member. There are 5 founding members, and the UAE has said that there will be no additional cuts by the OPEC plus countries. This is a trade bloc. Basically, we can call it a regional grouping, which has a lot to say when it comes to supply of oil. Okay, and this was founded in Baghdad, Iraq, by signing off an agreement in September 1960. There were 5 founding members: Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and Venezuela. Other members now include Libya, Gabon, UAE, Algeria, Nigeria, Angola, Equatorial Guinea, and Congo. Some joined and left later on, such as Qatar and Indonesia. So there are now 13 members in OPEC. When we talk about other 10 countries, they become OPEC plus: Azerbaijan, Bahrain, Brunei, Kazakhstan, Malaysia, Mexico, Oman, Russia, South Sudan, and Sudan. These are part of the OPEC plus. Remember that. Key takeaways about OPEC are that members of the OPEC produce about 40% of the world's crude oil, and they export about 60%. Saudi Arabia has the upper hand, but now in OPEC plus, Russia is also emerging as a leader. With respect to the 2023 Global Peace Index, which was recently published, consider the statements. Nepal and Sri Lanka have performed better than India, but USA has performed worse than India. Syria is the least peaceful country in the world, and India has jumped 3 ranks if we compare it to the last year. So how many statements given above is or are correct? Nepal, yes, has performed better than India at 79. Then Sri Lanka is at 107, although we see what is happening in Sri Lanka. India has ranked 126, USA has ranked 131. So that makes Nepal and Sri Lanka to be performing better than India, but USA has performed worse. So first is correct. Afghanistan, conversely, is the least peaceful country. Syria is also one of them, but the least one is Afghanistan. India has jumped 2 ranks if we compare it with the last year achievement. It's at 126. First is correct, second is not correct, and 3 is also not correct. 1 only will be the correct answer. The Global Peace Index has been published by the Institute for Economics and Peace. It's the 17th edition. It compared 163 countries on different parameters. 99.7% of the world's population is reflected, and 23 qualitative and quantitative indicators were used. The average level of global peacefulness has deteriorated, gone down by 0.42%, and this is the 13th year out of the 15 years when we are seeing that peace is getting deteriorated. 84 countries have improved and 79 have deteriorated in peacefulness. Iceland has become the most peaceful, as in it has been the most peaceful since the year 2008, accompanied by Denmark, Ireland, New Zealand and Austria. When we talk about Afghanistan, it is the least peaceful country in the world, and this is for the 8th consecutive year. Other countries include Yemen, Syria, South Sudan, Democratic Republic of Congo. India is at 126th spot. Previously, we were 2 spots behind. India has experienced an improvement of 3.5% in overall peacefulness because our border disputes have not deteriorated with China, and ceasefire has also been controlled with Pakistan. Nepal is at 79, better than us. China is better than us at 80. Sri Lanka is also better than us at 107, but US and Pakistan are worse than us. USA is at 131, Pakistan at 146. So the PDF will be provided to you at my Telegram channel, on my Telegram channel. If you have any question, feel free to ask me on my Instagram. Thank you so much.
StudyIQ IAS. अब तैयारी हुई अफोर्डेबल।